Do you want to experience the thrill of a Packers game at Lambeau Field? If so, be sure to get your game tickets from the longtime trusted source in Wisconsin, Ticket King. Visit their locations in Milwaukee and Green Bay, or just go to their website, theticketking.com. Again, that's theticketking.com.
And now, for fans of the 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers, this is Cheesehead TV Live.
Cheetahs don't stretch, and neither do we.
I think you're an idiot. And I mean that with the most respect possible that I can give to an idiot.
Packers Hall of Fame quarterback Jay Cutler.
It's not as fun to say as Equinemius.
That is a perfect example of a wrong opinion. Ring the bell. Welcome back, Packers fans. What's up? It's another football Sunday, and this is Cheesehead TV Live pregame show.
That's right.
Jason Perrone and Jeremy Vanderlinden of Cheesehead TV. Bar's starting to slowly fill in.
Yep, we got some Packer fans.
Yeah, we got some Packers fans in the house already. Excited to watch them. That's right. Excited to get back on track after last week's clunker in Washington. The Packers return home to Lambeau Field to take on the Buffalo Bills, who are coming off of a very impressive win themselves last week on the road. Jeremy?
Well, what a hot, steamy pile of crap last week was. Hopefully it'll be better this week.
Well, the weather's not going to be any better. It's going to be overcast, a little bit cooler and rainy in Green Bay, but it's the home crowd. It's some home cooking. Get the team back. We'll start off with the inactives, and the most notable names are cornerback Kevin King and wide receiver Randall Cobb. Both will be out today. Newcomer cornerback Bashad Breeland will also not be active. They elevated Tony Brown from the practice squad this week when they put Devon House on injured reserve. Right. And Brown will be active, so there's only 4 corners today. Tremont Williams, Jair Alexander, Josh Jackson, and Brown. Right. Any concerns, Jeremy, in the passing game?
Yeah. I mean, I think they're going to run a lot of base today, so we'll be getting into that for sure.
When we get to the defense, Jeremy's all about the order in which the
show
show goes.
I got to keep it in order.
Here I am trying to have an organic conversation, and Jeremy's
delete that.
Yes, delete it.
We don't do that.
We'll reshuffle it. Okay, so
let me. I got the inactives in front of me, so let me go through those.
Yeah, please.
All right, so the Bills inactives: Marcus Murphy, running back Marcus Murphy, tight end Logan Thomas, offensive tackle Jeremiah Searles,
former Vikings.
I shouldn't be going through these because I can't read. O-lineman Ike Boettger. Boettger. All right. Wyatt Teller.
If you got a name named Wyatt, that's awesome.
Defensive tackle Robert Thomas and cornerback Phillip Gaines. For the Packers, the inactives are Tim Boyle, Randall Cobb, Kevin King, Darius Jackson, Bashad Breeland, and Justin McCray and Alex Light. So
Byron Bell is going to start for McCray and in his stead, and maybe that's where we should kick off our conversation about the offense.
Offense. Rodgers does this better than anybody. End zone. Cobb. Touchdown. Unbelievable.
Okay, so based on the fact that the defense started very slowly last week, they played well in the second half. They gave the team a chance to come back, and then our own Packers offense, couldn't play well.
Right.
The offense is going to be a huge part of what I think is going to lead to today's success. And I said it, and we talked about it earlier. I think you've got a 3-pronged approach to how you win this game by keeping the ball on the offensive side of things, and it goes like this. Step 1, Aaron Jones. Step 2, Ty Montgomery. Step 3, Jamal Williams. Mike McCarthy cannot abandon the run. Jeremy, you said they're going to because Aaron Rodgers runs the offense.
It's just what they do.
But they've got to commit to running the ball.
They really should grind it out. With the defense being where they're at, with the corners, they should be grinding this game out. You got 3 good running backs. There's no reason to be shooting downfield today. Doesn't make any sense. And the best thing the Bills have going for them is their defense. Jerry Hughes will make trouble for that offensive line today. I expect that he'll make some trouble on Balaga's side of the field today. So they got to grind it out. And I'm tired of watching Aaron Rodgers look downfield when we've seen this team offensively change things up, go for the short passes, and move the ball in a rhythm. And we see them dink and dunk downfield successfully. And then as soon as they have success with that, what happens? They're going deep all the time.
They're going deep or they're running the ball. Well,
right.
So part of the interesting thing about that approach is Randall Cobb is out today, and Cobb's a big part of that short passing game. So
right.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling is supposed to get some of those snaps. We may see more of him on offense this week and a chance to really take a look at what he can do. We've wanted to see these rookies, wide receivers, unleashed. It looks like they're all going to be active today. Will we see Jamon Moore? Will we see Equinemius St. Brown? Yeah. I don't know.
I'm going to disagree with you on MVS being the guy. Equinemius was pretty good in the slot in the preseason. So if you got to replace Randall Cobb in the slot, I mean, they're two totally different players. Equinemius is, 6'5", but he was good in the slot in the preseason. Maybe we see some Equinemius today.
I think it won't surprise me because we always get surprised by what the Packers do, especially Mike McCarthy. I think I'm going off of what I saw a lot of the beat reporters and the writers saying.
Yeah.
MVS is going to be.
I agree, it's possible. I mean, I'm not saying that there's no way, but I'm saying look for the surprise. Maybe Equinemius gets some of those snaps.
But listen, let's just go back to my original thought here. Feed the ball to Aaron Jones. Give 33 the rock. He earned his carries last week. He did well. Even if you're Mike McCarthy, taking that approach and saying, listen, these guys have to earn their snaps, and their success is going to get them more playing time. Every time Jones touched the ball last week, he did something. He made something out of something and something out of nothing.
Right. He always does. That's just the way that he is as a runner. I hate the Mike McCarthy attitude of like, oh, you're back from your suspension, but you got suspended. Here's some punishment. But it's not a punishment to Aaron Jones as much as it's a punishment to everybody else. The team was having success on the ground with Aaron Jones in there last week. There's no reason not to use him. And especially with Cobb being out, I think we see Ty Montgomery take some of those slot snaps that Cobb would normally have. I think we are going to see more Aaron Jones. Somebody in the chat asked if Chris Hinch asks if Jimmy Graham has his first 100-yard game of the year. Yeah, I could see it. Jimmy Graham being a big difference maker for the Packers today. Look, the Bills are only good on one side of the ball. They're good on defense. But the good news is the Packers have weapons all over the offense.
Okay, well, the interesting thing about that, when we get to the other side of the ball, is that the wrinkle about the Bills and their offense is that they've turned to rookie quarterback Josh Allen. And Allen didn't play badly last week. He ran a lot. He ran for 2 touchdowns, so he's still getting his proverbial feet wet. And I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek after he rushed 10 times and he ran in for 2 scores. But he's got a great arm, and I think the Bills are going to probably look to test this young secondary and these young corners, and maybe they'll take a couple deep shots after watching what Washington was able to do last week. So the safety play is going to be important when we get to that side of things. But Aaron Rodgers. So Rodgers actually was able to practice a little bit this week, which is encouraging because that knee is going to continue to bother him. It's an issue. But for him to be able to get out there and either suck it up and grind it out and say, listen, I need to practice with these guys. Our offense was a little too lethargic last week. Or if it means that the knee is healing a little bit, that's a good sign for the offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Rodgers, we talked about this on the Wednesday show. You asked me what I thought the reason was for the way that Rodgers played last week because he didn't see the field well. He did not play well. And I thought it was practice. And here he is. He's practicing this week. He practiced on starting Thursday as opposed to getting in a Saturday practice before the game. So Rodgers with a little more practice today. I expect him to be a little more sharp. I don't care how good your quarterback is. It doesn't mean your receivers are on the same page as him, so he needs to be at practice, and he is this week. I just want to throw this out there. There are 2 places you can connect with us if you want to there's 3. If you want to send some questions for the show, you can do that on the YouTube chat, on the Cheesehead TV's YouTube page, or the Cover It Live chat on cheeseheadtv.com, or you can tweet at CHTV Live. Speaking of our Twitter account, we're doing a giveaway. We have an awesome Leroy Butler autograph photo that we're giving away. If you have a Twitter account, go to at CHTV Live and look at the pinned tweet that we have on our account. We have a Leroy Butler autographed photo that we're giving away. There's some steps there to get in on the contest. We'll be giving that away next Sunday. So next Sunday here at the Watershed, we'll announce who wins. It could be somebody here at the Watershed. If you're at the Watershed and you want to win a Leroy Butler autograph, you can do that. Just go to our Twitter account. So back to Rodgers and the offense. I think the knee is getting healthier. I think he's sharper today. I'm frustrated because I think a lot of Packer fans are, and you'll probably agree, for the last few years it feels like we're waiting on this magic that we know is there to show its face, and it doesn't, and it's inconsistent, and it's just so frustrating to watch. Is today the day that the Packers offense finally steps out of the shadows and shows us some of that magic that we know is there?
I don't know. The Bills are an unfamiliar opponent, so you never know what's going to happen there. It's Their secondary's okay. It's not what it was at one time when they had Ronald Darby and Lattimore. Was it Lattimore? Gilmore at corner, and they had their good safeties. It's not the same secondary. Micah Hyde makes his return to Lambeau Field. He's going to return punts. He's going to be back there in the secondary as well. I'm really not sure. It's tough to know what kind of rhythm this offense is going to get into, but they just need to hold. I think if they hold on to the ball longer than Buffalo's got it, they'll be in good shape.
Grind it out. That's it.
Yeah, here's one of the keys, though. So Brian Bulaga is going to play. He came out last week and didn't return. He had a back issue, and we were all concerned about that. He's in today at right tackle. He's at least going to start. And then Byron Bell is going to fill in for Justin McCray. McCray is out today at right guard. Bell was not good in the preseason at right tackle, but he's playing guard, and they're going with him over Jason Spriggs, who struggled a little bit last week, and we all know what Spriggs is and what he's not. The key is protection, and Bell's got to do his part to try to open up lanes in the run game as well. So that's going to be a big part of whether or not they can run the ball.
Not only are they picking him over Spriggs, they're picking him over Jari Evans, who's sitting at home. I think this week will determine whether or not to give him a phone call. Because and we talked about this Wednesday, and you said, does he even want to play? I don't know, but he's not retired.
He's not, no. But that's the thing is you never know what conversations are actually being had behind the scenes.
Right.
So who knows? And obviously this is going to become a huge topic of conversation when the season's over because the Packers are going to need some more depth in the on the offensive line. So the line, the left side is good. You got Corey Lindsley, Lane Taylor, David Bakhtiari on the left side.
Yep.
Rodgers is gonna do what he does. Getting back to the Jimmy Graham thing, the only way I think Graham has a 100-yard day at all this season, and I mean even if they're at their peak, is if he catches a ball for 50 yards. Like he's not meant to be a 100-yard piece of the offense. I don't think with all the other weapons, if they're all healthy, that's the way they want this thing to work.
He's been playing in the role that he belongs in. He's a distraction for the defense, something they need to think about, and he opens up other guys. He's also been playing a role he shouldn't be in. And we've been pretty upset about the way they're using Mercedes Lewis.
Not using him.
And then having Jimmy Graham be a lead blocker on a run play. The entire league knows Jimmy Graham can't block, right? Like, that's not a mystery, and that's not – I don't understand why they have Jimmy Graham in there to be that guy. And you don't want to be too predictable where, okay, Lewis is in, they're running the ball this direction. But you got to get him on the field more so that you can use him in those.
The only way that you're going to remove that mystery, and the only way you're going to remove the entire mystique of Mercedes Lewis, is to give him more snaps and throw him the ball a couple times.
Right.
Then you get defenses guessing and confused.
Right.
It becomes predictable when you are afraid to try what you brought these guys in to do.
Right. So the only way to not be predictable with Lewis is get him on the freaking football field. Don't sit him on the bench. You paid him to be here to be a blocker, but he's got to be on the field more than 7 and 14 times a game. Like he's got to be on the field more than Kendricks.
Yeah, Lance Kendricks had an issue last week. He dropped a big pass. I don't know how he's seen in the offense and what this coaching staff is thinking in terms of how they want to run the ball or run the offense today. But Mike McCarthy and Joe Philbin, please don't get too cute. Just do what you do best, and if it's working, stick with it and be smart about it.
All right, so before we get to the defense, I'll throw this out there to you. Christopher on the YouTube chat asks, Seattle wants a second-round pick for Thomas. Couldn't the Packers just leapfrog every other team by offering one of their first-round picks? Crazy to give up a first for him?
Yes.
Don't
give up a first.
Do not give up a first.
But Seattle wants 2 seconds.
Right,
and that's different than 1 second.
Which tells me, though, that they're going to get 1 second. They're not getting 2. I think they're asking for 2, and they're going to get 1. And I think that's probably their hope.
And it's going to frustrate the heck out of us because it's probably going to be like the Bears.
The Chiefs are the favorite to get him.
Or the Lions.
And the Chiefs really need defensive back help. So
who do the Packers play that's the Rams? The Rams will end up with Earl Thomas.
Stop it. The Rams don't need any more help.
They need it.
They did try to trade for Mack. They were going to trade for Mack. The Rams were going to trade for Mack, sign him, and then trade him next offseason. Can you imagine that team with Khalil Mack on it? That would just be stupid. It's like a completely unfair situation already. They don't need that.
Right.
Earl Thomas, I'd love him in Green Bay. No, you do not give up a first-round pick for a guy in his 30s.
No.
It's not happening.
Not a good idea.
I'd give up a 2, and I'd give up a 2 and ha-ha. and I'd be totally cool with that. A 2 and Ha-Ha for Earl Thomas. Yes, please. It's an upgrade. I don't think Ha-Ha's coming back next year. He's on the last year of his deal. It makes sense to me to make that.
And I want Ha-Ha Clinton-Dix in the secondary when the Packers are playing the Seahawks, and I want him to fail to stop a two-point conversion in a critical moment in a big game.
All right, Jason, let's move on. Let's
other side of the ball.
Let's actually, you know what? You made a request last week, and I'm going to go with it.
All right.
Let's go special teams.
Let's do it.
Special teams.
This to send the Packers into the NFC Championship game. It is good. The Packers are moving on. And Mason Crosby, a hero for Green Bay.
That never gets old. Okay, so one of the big things about Randall Cobb being out is a punt return.
Right.
Because he's our punt returner. So that's probably going to be Jair Alexander in theory, but maybe it won't.
It could be Jair. It could be Ty Montgomery. It could be MVS.
Could be MVS.
So we'll see. It's kind of a toss-up today who's going to be that punt returner. But they have options, which is great. And I would love to see somebody young step up and take that role so that Cobb doesn't have to play in it.
Yeah.
If MVS can do that and be active every week and be the punt and kick returner, that's ideal.
Yeah, he's putting himself out there when he's returning punts, and Cobb's very sure-handed. And it's ironic that he's out today and the Packers need somebody to step in because the guy that used to step into that role was Micah Hyde, and he's on the other side of the ball today.
Right.
For the Buffalo Bills, and he will be returning punts for the Bills. So on special teams, J.K. Scott, as much as we joke that we don't want to talk about a punter too much, J.K. Scott has been awesome through the first 4 games of the season, 4 games of the season. He's been really good and leads the league, I think, in net punting average, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah.
And
he's been the best punter in the league so far. He's
flipped the field on a couple of occasions, and that's going to become very important, obviously, in a game like this where I just, these unfamiliar opponent games always make me nervous. And the Packers sometimes surprise us and do what they're supposed to do, but after what we saw last week, I don't know what to expect from the Bills. And the last thing you want is to have a gaffe or some sort of an issue on special. Right. Last week there was a botched snap, and I actually think that was on Scott, the holder. The snap was okay. It was just kind of, wet conditions, field conditions. They're going to be a little bit like that today. They're going to be a little less than ideal. So they've got to be tight getting the ball down. You don't want a missed field goal opportunity.
Snap on a punt. So it's not perfect right now. The way that Hunter Bradley is playing, he's not exactly what he needs to be for being a draft pick. There's always a question when you spend a draft pick on a punter or a kicker. Not a kicker as much as a punter, because a kicker will give you points. But a punter, if you're spending a draft pick on a punter, he better be pretty darn good. And right now it looks like J.K. Scott is worth the pick, but I am curious and wondering if it was worth drafting Hunter Bradley at all.
Well, they had that draft pick to play with, and I don't think there was anybody else the Packers wanted. So they said, hey, listen, you don't typically draft guys like this, but he's still out there, and he's one of the better options than who's going to be left on the scrap heap when this thing's all over with. So let's take a flyer on him, and let's go for it. Packers clearly trying to upgrade their special teams unit and steal some field position. So they got a punter. They've obviously already got Crosby, who's great, and money in the bank. And they're trying to do everything they can in every facet to get better. And so I think that's going to be a big key is just sound play today. If there's snap issues again, do we see the return of the Good?
I hope so. I wish they would have called Brett Good this week. But they might be in conversation with Brett Good as we speak, and we just don't know it.
Yeah.
But there obviously is a question mark at long snapper, and if they have any issues this week, I would expect a change. If they have any issues with Byron Bell starting at guard this week, I expect a change. I expect for them to be watching a few positions today and considering what moves they might need to make a difference. So Brett Good very well might be a Packer again. Yeah. It might happen.
Very possible, but let's hope they can go with what they've got, because eventually Brett Good is going to not be an option, even if he is out there and not with another team. He's going to retire, and he's going to be done, not going to be eligible to come back. So with that said, I think on special teams that pretty much covers it. I don't think Buffalo's got anything on that side of their
except for
equation.
Micah Hyde. That's it.
On that side of the equation, that's going to really be a huge factor. So on we move
to defense.
Defense. They're down at 17. More pressure. Ball is out. Green Bay's got it. Daniels again.
All right, the defense going into Buffalo, question marks, plenty of them this year.
Well, the first thing we talked about already is the corners. They're going to be playing young corners today, so Alexander and Josh Jackson are going to get thrown out there. A lot has been made about the fact that Buffalo doesn't have a murderer's row at wide receiver. The Packers don't tend to take advantage of situations like that. They tend to like to make the less than obvious and very obvious things look a lot better than they are. Right. So I need to see how these corners are going to come out and play. And the safeties, a lot of concern. There's been some issues at safety. Bryce, bad angles, not playing the ball well. He's in position. If you look at the film review that's done by some of the great film guys, during the week afterwards when you show the screen grabs, Bryce is in position, but he can't make the play. His ball skills are just not great. Clinton-Dix has been very marginal, so the secondary is still a question mark.
Right, and it's not the corners. The corners look good. Other than health, the corners look good. The safeties leave it a big question mark back there because even if they're in a position to make a play, you can't really trust they're going to do it because plays like contact is an option. Like, contact's an option in football for Clinton-Dix. He doesn't want to tackle anybody. He doesn't want to make physical contact with anybody. So I don't trust And then Bryce, I think Bryce has dollar signs flowing through his head. Like he's concerned about the money he's going to lose if he actually makes a play. I think he could make a play. I think he has the ability. The kid's really smart. But then I think he's afraid. He is afraid to go out there and make the big play because he's afraid of the fine that might come along with it.
Right.
And that shouldn't be the way players are playing this game.
No, but I think if you look at it from the human element or the human aspect of it, if you're getting your entire week's paycheck taken away from you, you're making business decisions out there, and that's just the way the league has kind of led this thing to be, the way they're calling contact, defenseless receiver hits. Obviously, the quarterback, hits on the quarterback. That issue is another thing, too, that is causing a lot of ripple effects here.
Yep.
So Clay Matthews, the big question is he going to make it 4 for 4? And is he going to get another roughing the passer penalty today? If he does, I think we can officially say he is the most profiled and targeted player in the NFL.
League. I'm going to say no. Roughing the passer is going to be down from now on. Let's break this down. I said this to Jason before the show. The NFL and the competition committee are like that guy that lies all the time because he's got to look good. So after the Vikings game, the league comes out and says, Clay Matthews roughing the passer is the picture-perfect image of what a penalty looks like now in the league. And they were going to use it as an example on their video. And then they didn't because it was a stupid idea. And then the next week, Clay gets penalized again. And we're starting to wonder, are we ever going to see football played the way that it should be played ever again?
Well, here's what I've said a couple times, and I put this out on Twitter, and it got a ton of reaction earlier this week. So the league is going to make a correction. They're not going to call these roughing the passer penalties like they've been, which is good in theory.
Right. So
until Aaron Rodgers gets sacked, the way that Clay Matthews sacked Kirk Cousins and Alex Smith in a critical moment, and there's no flag thrown, and once again, the Packers are victims of this rule.
So
and the enforcement of it.
The league comes out publicly and they say that these penalties on Clay are legit, and then he's not fined for them. That's, I think, a big question mark. If it's a penalty of roughing the passer, why is there's no fine? And then they're saying publicly that this is the way it is. Then they have a meeting this week and they say they're not going to call it any differently. Then the media asked Clay this week, "Did you talk to Mark Murphy about what to do?" And Mark Murphy sits on the competition committee. He is on the committee. And Clay said, yes, I asked him what I should be doing differently. And Mark Murphy said, nothing. Keep doing what you're doing. You know what that says to me? They're not going to call it the way they've been calling it. And Mark Murphy knows that, and he's telling Clay, it's fine, keep doing what you're doing. We're going to change the way this is done. So
they have to scale back. Otherwise, they're going to dramatically affect the outcomes of this season. And it's going to be this. You might as well put an asterisk on the 2018 NFL season if it's going to be that way. You got to let the players on the field be the headline, not the officiating. And right now, so far, way too much attention being paid to the Zebras.
Absolutely, it's ruining the game so far. But I think that change is coming. The league's not going to openly admit that they're changing it because then they'd have to admit that they're wrong. But they're not going to do that. They're going to make the change without saying a word and act like nothing is different.
No.
You know?
It's what the Shield does. It's what the NFL does.
Right.
But hopefully this thing just levels it out and balances out. Aaron Rodgers himself came out and said, listen, I don't want those calls in my favor either.
Right.
Let's play football. Like, we're all football players. There's going to be contact. We take that risk. Let's just avoid the unnecessary weight-bearing tackles like we saw last year. Obviously, you know which one I'm talking about.
Right.
But, let these guys play the game. They're wearing protection. They're wearing padding. And sometimes, you know what? It's a physical game. It's a violent game in some ways. Guys are going to get hurt. It's just inevitable. There's plenty of non-contact injuries. Jimmy Garoppolo's ACL injury was a non-contact injury. There's a lot of things that these players are in danger of without some of these hits that they take. And I played, and I can tell you right now, the hits that I took straight on that looked really bad and looked like I got lit up didn't hurt at all. It was the tiny, dingy little glancing blows that, to me, were worse because they came at different angles, and those were the ones that actually hurt a lot worse, and they didn't look as bad to the eye. So I think the league just needs to understand, listen, this is what the game is, and if they want to turn it into something else, it becomes a 7-on-7 passing camp, and that's a different game altogether.
So I'm going to try to say this guy's name from the chat. If you can correct me in the chat, that'd be great. But Rise Davies asks, it's R-H-Y-S. I don't know. Reese. Is that Reese? All right. Yeah. Well, like I said, I can't read. So is the Mo Wilkerson injury a big loss for the Packers? Is it a big loss for the defense?
I'm not ready to say it's a big loss. Everybody wants to say that because he was a big free agent acquisition and a big part of the defensive line rotation. But let's see what Dean Lowry can provide.
Right.
And because I don't really know from a scheme perspective what Wilkerson was opening up for Kenny Clark and Mike Daniels.
I would say it's a bigger loss for later in the season when things started to get comfortable and they all started to settle in. Because the defense was playing half a game right now. That's what we kept seeing. They'd come out in the first half, suck. By second half, make an adjustment and start. They would be stopping offenses constantly in the second half. That's what they were doing. So I think the loss of Wilkerson can be a big deal, but it doesn't have to be because of the depth that's there. Because it's not just Dean Lowry, it's Montravius Adams. They also have Adams to bring in on the field, and both of those guys have a lot of potential. And I think, it sucks because I think Muhammad Wilkerson could have had a really good season here in Green Bay and a resurgence season, but we're not going to get to see that now. And good news for the Packers, they had some depth on the defensive line. Everything is okay.
I think if they're equipped to handle an injury in any area, I think the defensive line might be one where they're okay. Obviously, if it's the secondary, not at all. That would be a disaster. That'd be catastrophic. And the Packers only have 4 active corners today.
Right.
Josh Jones is making his debut. He will
Finally.
play today. Now, Josh Jones is not the answer at deep safety. He's not a covered guy. But he is somebody who can jump in the middle there, and you've got Oren Burks, Josh Jones. Maybe the Packers finally saw the middle of the field, and that's not that barren wasteland that we're used to.
Right. I think – let me throw this out there because there are people asking in the chat, where's Nagler? Nagler is on the Watch Party show that's after our show, so you can stick around on the Cheesehead TV YouTube page. You can watch that.
That was so amazing last week. Just – for the Clay Matthews penalty alone, that was an awesome thing.
Watching them react,
just the reaction and the show, and it was a great idea.
Yeah,
and they got so much traffic. I mean, it's been awesome having those two guys back.
But you can
Aaron
follow
and Corey both.
You can follow Jason and I on Twitter at Jason Perrone, at Jeremy RVDL. If you're looking to connect with us directly, you can connect with us on Twitter. You can connect with the show at CHTV Live. Like I said earlier, we are giving away an autographed photo of Leroy Butler. If you go to our Twitter page at CHTV Live, there are instructions there on how to win that prize. You guys can sign up for that. We'll give that away next Sunday. So back to the defense. I think with the depth they have, they're good. I think with the secondary is a big question today, only having 4 corners like you talked about. But I think this is how they fix it. Oren Burks is also active today, like he was last week.
Well,
but we're going to see more Oren Burks in the base defense. And he's going to play kind of like a safety hybrid cover linebacker that he's going to cover tight ends and running backs. And so they have some players that can come in and play a role that makes up for having only 4 corners today. But if they have any injuries in the secondary today, it's very concerning. It's
going to be a problem. Yeah, the depth is starting to become an issue, and they've gotten lucky 2 weeks in a row that Brian Bulaga was able to come back and practice after leaving a game and play at right tackle. Things are starting to get a little bit thin. Before we go, I don't want to forget our other sponsor, Ticket King. If you're looking to go to any sporting event, especially a game at Lambeau Field, and see the Packers play like today in their throwback uniforms, You've got to get them on the secondary market, and Ticket King is there for you, and they're one of the best options. They've been partnering and doing Packers games and doing what they do for many, many years. They're not the big guys like the StubHubs of the world, the Ticketmasters, but they do a fantastic job, and they've been a supporter of ours for a long time. So get over to theticketking.com. That's where I got my ticket to go see the 49ers game Monday night in 2 weeks. I'm very excited about it. Thank you to Ticket King. Jeremy, any final thoughts? We got to call this thing. We got to call this thing. So you lead us off.
If you're in Arizona and you're not at the Watershed in Tempe, you need to get down here. This is the place to be. It's filling up. The bar is starting to look like it looks like we're sitting in Wisconsin because the lake out the back windows, it's Door County, and it's full of Packer fans.
And it's overcast, so it's very Wisconsin.
It looks very Wisconsin. All right, so we need to get our prediction in. Jason, what's your prediction for today?
I predict that the ball will be kicked off at 12 noon local time in Green Bay, and 60 minutes of football will be played today.
You got to give me more.
Okay.
I need more.
So the Packers, they're at home. They're in their throwbacks. The last 2 times they've been in their throwbacks, of course, last year was you kind of throw that out. They have not played well, and they've lost. So I think they finally get off the schneid in that sense, and they get back on track. The Bills coming off a big win against the Vikings, but it's Green Bay, it's the Packers, and it's Aaron Rodgers. I think the Packers are going to win this one by, I'd say, about 10, which is what I called last week. But I think I feel better about it this week. I think the Packers are ready to bounce back and get this thing going.
Yeah, I think it's about time they start to snap things into place, and this is a good team to do it against. I think the Vikings loss last week had more to do with the fact that the Vikings were coming up against the Rams on Thursday night than the fact that the Bills played well.
Correct.
The Bills caught the Vikings at the right time. They're not doing that in Green Bay. The Packers are going to be ready to play today. I'm taking the Packers. I'm going to say 28-14.
Yeah.
Big win.
I've got something more like a 31-21.
Okay.
It's more of what I'm seeing. I think the Packers will put up some more points. Hopefully maybe a defensive score today.
Maybe a defensive score. I expect to see plenty of Josh Jackson. I think he'll cover Charles Clay some. They're going to need big bodies on him, and they got some ball hawks in the secondary now. And if they can actually hit the quarterback this week, which I think is going to be possible, it'll be legal. I think there'll be some turnovers. Josh Allen, as a rookie quarterback, he's going to ride that rookie quarterback roller coaster. This could be a down week for Josh Allen. Get to him a few times, make a couple interceptions, he'll have a bad game. I think the Packers are in a good position to bounce back this week, and they just have to do it. Jason, you got anything?
I don't. Thank you for listening to the Cheesehead TV Live pregame show. Let's get lit here, Watershed and Tempe. Go, Pack, go!
Thank you for listening to Cheesehead TV Live. Check out cheeseheadtv.com for more great Packers content.